1522. The record should reflect that Mr. Holmes is present with his attorneys and the prosecutors are present as well. We are outside the presence of the jury. Mr. Orman?
Your Honor, counsel for the defendant pointed out to me that apparently the number for the currency, the exhibit number for the currency 1214 had already been taken up by another exhibit. So I've renumbered that 1221, and I would ask for the court to just renumber that exhibit in the record. I believe it's already been admitted.
Okay, so it should be 1221.
Yes, Your Honor, and that's what it says right now.
All right. And does the defense agree with that?
We do.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, thank you. Anything else?
Well, Your Honor, we can do this at the bench or we can do this before the jury comes in. I just thought I would mention there's the financial records. The defense has now had an opportunity to review them. That is 761, and what I've done is I've marked the envelope 761 and then the contents, the records themselves, 761A. There's another set of documents that were taken from the backpack that relate to school, which is going to be 762, and I've done the same thing. Mark the envelope 762 and the content 762A. My understanding from speaking to counsel for the defendant is that they will be objecting to these, and I don't know if you want to have that argument now outside the presence of the jury or when I attempt to admit them.
Let's do it now. What's the objection?
Your Honor, regarding the financial paperwork, the objection would be 401, 402, 403, relevancy objection and cumulative, the identity of Mr. Holmes and the fact that this apartment is not in dispute. In regards to the documents from the backpack, we would make a relevancy objection as well as a 403 objection.
All right, Mr. Orman?
And here, I'm sorry, if I may add hearsay objection as well.
All right, Mr. Orman?
Well, the defendant, Your Honor, has pled not guilty by reason of insanity. And I believe that the items that a person chooses to keep in their apartment and surround themselves with demonstrate the mental state of the person. They are evidence of the mental state of the person, especially things like record keeping and how you maintain your financial records and your educational records, and frankly, the meticulous way that he did this with them together demonstrate his mental state. The defendant has asserted that he was in some florid psychotic state and devolving into some florid psychotic state, I think was the terminology used by Mr. King in opening statement. The fact that he kept these records like this, that they were in his apartment, is evidence that, well, the jury can consider whether or not that assertion is correct. The school records in particular, Your Honor, go from an initial admittance letter that was February 28th, 2011, to his official withdrawal form. And it's about 9 pages. So it goes from the start of his time at CU to the stop of his time at CU with the official withdrawal form. The fact that he decided to keep these records, the fact that he decided to put them in his backpack and to have from the beginning to the end all in one place, I believe is evidence of his mental state. And if it is hearsay, Your Honor, that is a admissible purpose outside of any hearsay. It is not for the truth of the matter asserted. It is to show how he maintained and what he maintained in his apartment. The same can be said for the financial records, Your Honor. He kept all of these financial records. They were found in his bedroom drawer, and they demonstrate, Your Honor, that he at least could know what financial records are, know that they belong together, and know that he should keep them. The most recent one in here, Your Honor, is a record from his bank that is a statement dated May 31st of 2012. So that is a record that is going all the way up, and I mean, I think that bank records you usually get sometime early the next month. So this is something he would have received in June. And again, he was keeping these records. It is a demonstration of his mental state and the way that he was able to know what records to keep and how to keep them. So for those purposes, Your Honor, I think they are admissible, and there's nothing in here. I mean, they say 403, Your Honor. I don't see anything in these records that is in any way prejudicial to the defendant, much less a prejudice that would outweigh the relevance. So I imagine Your Honor would like to see the exhibits.
I do. Tell me more about the financial records.
Yeah.
Are they all bank statements?
No, Your Honor. The first page of it is a notice of a state income tax refund from the state of California. That's the first page. The second page is that...
I'm sorry, what's the year?
That is from the tax year 2011. I'm sorry, tax year 2010, it's a 2011 form. The next one, Your Honor, is a payroll direct deposit form for CU that is dated May 14th, 2011, and has a voided check attached to it. Then, Your Honor, there are a series of bank statements from the Point Loma Credit Union. The first one, Your Honor, is through October 31st, 2011. The next one, Your Honor, is through March 31st of 2012. The next one is through February 29th of 2012. The next one is through May 31st of 2012. Then, Your Honor, there is a tax form, which is a tuition statement, which says 2011 on it. So that would be, I believe, the tax year 2011. Then, Your Honor, is a University of Colorado letter regarding employment withholding dated December 14th, 2011. Then, Your Honor, is a account statement from something called Scholar Share, which is for the period ending December 31st, 2011. And that continues. After that, Your Honor, is a worksheet for employment information. Following that, Your Honor, is emergency contact information worksheet from CU. Following that, Your Honor, is an I-9 employment verification eligibility form from CU dated March 14th, 2011. Then after that, Your Honor, is a CU verification of Colorado residency. It's for some reason in backwards order, but it is dated May 16th, 2011. After that, Your Honor, is an opt-out thing for Equifax dated May of 2011. Then there is a summer rotation form from the University of Colorado Neuroscience with the defendant's name on it. I do not see a date on that. Following that, Your Honor, is an Xfinity bill dated May 29th, 2011. Following that, Your Honor, is a University of Colorado financial form with the defendant's name on it dated May 16th, 2011. Following that are some tax forms, W-2s.
For what year?
For I'm looking for the date, Your Honor. They don't have one of those big year things like I'm used to. And I believe they are for 2011. Then we have a W-4 form, but it's a blank one. After that, Your Honor, is a map of University of Colorado, Denver Anschutz Medical Campus, and then a different scale map. And then following that, Your Honor, the last page is a personal information worksheet from the University of Colorado with the defendant's name and date of birth on it. I do not see a date on this, Your Honor. That is the financial records packet. All these items were together.
And they were found in the drawer of his bedroom?
Bedroom dresser drawer, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, can I see those, please?
Yes, sir. Do you want to see the other ones too?
Yes, please. Thank you. All right, I have reviewed the two sets of documents, and all of these, actually most of these, not all of these, quite a few of these appear to be related to the University of Colorado. And of course, a lot of the trial has focused on that. That's the time period that is most relevant. There are a couple of documents that do not have dates, but they are related to the University of Colorado, and so I am comfortable that based on that we know the time frame that they relate to. The rest of them, to the extent that they're not related to the University of Colorado, they are documents that relate to financial transactions or financial information such as bank statements. And for the reasons stated by Mr. Orman, I agree that they have some probative value. I understand that there is a difference of opinion between the parties as to how relevant some of these things are, but ultimately, that is going to be a decision for the jury. It'll be up to the jury to determine whether any of this is any indication of the defendant's mental health. But I think the prosecution has shown that there is some probative value here, and the question then is, given that there's some probative value and it is relevant, is the probative value of the evidence substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice or any of the concerns in Rule 403? And I don't see anything in here that would cause me to believe that the probative value of the evidence is outweighed, much less substantially outweighed by any of the concerns in Rule 403. So for those reasons, the objections are overruled in terms of the Rule 401 and Rule 403 objections. The hearsay objection is overruled because these items are not being introduced for the truth of the matter asserted, and so they are not hearsay. All right, Mr. Orman, you may retrieve these documents. And then with that, let's bring the jury in, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Please be seated, everyone. The record should reflect that the jury has joined us again. Welcome back, folks. Detective Wilson, I remind you that you're still under oath.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Orman, you may resume your direct examination.
Thank you. If I may approach the witness, Your Honor, I am going to show him what has been marked for identification purposes as People's Exhibit 2658, 4051, 4052, 4053, 4054, 4055, and 4056.
You may.
Can you take a look at those and tell me if those are accurate pictures of the items, or some of the items at least, that you collected from the defendant's medicine cabinet?
Yes, sir, they are.
Move to admit, Your Honor.
Is there any objection to these exhibits?
No objection.
Without objection, P-TR-2658 and 4051 through 4056 inclusive are admitted.
We could please put up 2061. I'm sorry, I got that number wrong. What was that number on that first one?
It's 2658.
Sorry, Your Honor, 2658. Okay, what is that?
This is a picture I took of the medicine chest in the bathroom.
Okay, if we go to 4051, please. Is that one of the bottles?
Yes.
52, please. 4052. Is that another one?
Yes, sir.
4053. Is that another one?
Yes, sir.
And you can see in that one, can you see there's still actually some pills in it?
Yes.
All right, 4054, please. Is that another one?
Yes, sir.
And 4055, please. Now, excuse me, what does this indicate?
I photographed those bottles, and then I removed the contents of the bottles, packaged them, as you say. I did that, and then I took these pictures to
So-
show what was in each bottle.
When you see 3 and 22 and 4, does that represent the bottle that is behind that?
Yes.
So can you see what the one is for the 3? Do we need to zoom in on that?
You know, maybe loratadine. I don't
Okay.
know. I'm not a pharmacist.
All right. What's the one? How about with the 22?
The clonazepam,
Okay. And then the 4?
sertraline.
Okay. And if we go to the next one, please.
I'm sorry.
Is this the ibuprofen tablets?
Yes.
Okay. And we didn't test them, but did they come out of an ibuprofen bottle?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Thank you. We can take that down. I'm now going to approach with what I've marked as 762 and 762A and 761 and 761A. What is 761?
761 are the package of financial papers that I had earlier that came from the bedroom dresser drawer.
And then 761A?
It's the actual documents taken out of the folder.
And are those the original documents that you took out of the defendant's dresser drawer?
Yes,
And is that the way you found them?
yes.
Move to omit 761 and 761A, Your Honor.
Based on my previous ruling, it is admitted, both of them are admitted, P-TR-761 and 761A.
Now, I'm not going to ask to publish that, but I would like you to sort of go through some pages of that and tell us what they are. I'm not going to ask you to read from them. So what's the first page of that?
It's an income tax form, a refund form from California.
And then how about the second page?
These are, you start getting your bank statements from Point Loma Credit Union in San Diego.
And is there an account number associated with that?
Yes, there is.
What's that account number?
135566.
And if I'd like you to go through those, tell me when the last bank statement that is in there, what's the date of the last bank statement? Or the most recent one?
It's like May 31st of 2012.
Thank you. After the bank statements, what is in there?
Then we get into, looks like just income tax forms.
Okay, after the income tax forms?
There's University of Colorado paperwork, various different documents associated with University of Colorado.
Thank you. Let's take a look at 762 and 762A. What is that?
762 is the original, how they were packaged documents I found in the backpack. And then 762A is the actual documents that were in the envelope.
Your Honor, move to omit 762 and 762A.
Based on my prior ruling, P-TR-762 and 762A are admitted.
You could please look at 762A. And again, I'm not going to ask you to read from the documents, but I'm going to ask you to tell me what they are. And if you go to the last page of 762A and tell me what that is.
The actual item, last item here is a letter that Mr. Holmes received from University of Colorado.
What's the date on that?
February 28th of 2011.
And would it be fair to say that that entire packet deals with University of Colorado things?
Yes, it does.
Go to the first page.
Okay.
And what is the first page?
It's a, looks like the original of an official withdrawal form from the University of Colorado.
I'd like you to look at the signatures on that, not who signed it, but what are the dates of the signatures on that?
The majority, 4 of them are June 14th, 2012, and then the last one on here is June 15th of 2012.
And how many signatures are on that?
There's 5.
Thank you. I want to ask you about 2 more items of evidence from the apartment. And Let me ask you about that first one there. I've handed you what has been marked for identification as People's Exhibit 734. What is that?
It's just a key lanyard, one of the lanyard you wear around your neck that was found in the closet in the bedroom.
And is there a brand associated with that or an organization?
It has the University of Colorado logo on it, the CU.
Okay. Your Honor, move to omit 734.
Any objection to P-TR-734?
No objection.
Without objection, it is admitted.
And last item from the apartment I want to ask you about is what I've marked as 737. Now, that is attached to an envelope with a bunch of stuff in it. I'm not asking you about the bunch of stuff. I'm just asking you about these two items. Did you find those in the defendant's apartment?
Yes, sir.
And what are they?
They're just two business cards.
Where'd you find them?
I believe these were also in the backpack.
Okay, and who are the business cards for?
One is for a Lynn Fenton, MD, and the other one's also Lynn Fenton, MD.
And do they have an organization associated with them?
University of Colorado.
All right, and I'm going to take this off of here. Move to omit 737, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
Without objection, P-TR-737 is admitted.
I've got one more thing to ask you about, Detective. At some point in time, did you go to property at the Aurora Police Department and inspect the defendant's gas mask?
Yes.
Do you remember when you did that?
It was August 8th, 2012. It was 2 in the afternoon.
Now, when you did that, did you notice something that was present on the gas mask that would not normally be associated with a gas mask?
Objection, Your Honor, cumulative to the testimony we heard earlier.
Overruled?
Yes, I found earphones inside the gas mask.
I've handed you what I've marked for identification as People's Exhibit 790. What is that?
These are the lack of a better term, the earbuds that I found inside the gas mask.
Move to omit 790, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
Without objection, P-TR-790 is admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have any further questions on direct examination. After we're done with everything else, I'm going to ask to publish some of the exhibits.
All right. Is there any cross-examination? Ms. Spengler?
There is, Your Honor.
All right, you may
Fine.
proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Detective
morning.
Wilson. I've just got a few questions for you about some of the other things that you collected in the apartment. I'm going to approach with what's been marked as defendant's exhibits 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. May I approach, Your Honor?
You may.
And I'll show the district attorney the photographs as well as...
Your Honor, I understand counsel's going to want to establish where these came from, but I don't object to their admission.
All right, Ms. Spengler, are you moving their admission?
I will move the admission of all the exhibits.
Okay, they're all admitted without objection. That's defendants exhibits 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. You may proceed.
Thank you. Detective Wilson, do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and do those photographs depict items that you did recover from Mr. Holmes' apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
If we could please publish Defendant's Exhibit 18, so you should see that come up on your screen in a few moments if we have permission.
Yes.
Are these contents from the backpack that was previously entered into evidence?
Yes.
Okay. And do we see those business cards related to Dr. Fenton?
Yes, ma'am.
And Dr. Fenton on that business card is identified as a board-certified psychiatrist, correct?
I can't tell that from the picture, but I know she is, yes.
And if we could see Defendant's Exhibit 19, please. Are these documents that were recovered from Mr. Holmes' apartment
Yes.
in a kit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and is this a bike fix-it kit or a...
It appeared to be a tool kit for a bicycle, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you actually collected that piece of physical evidence?
Yes.
And if we could see Defendant's Exhibit 20, please. And is this a mouse pad that was collected from the apartment?
Yes.
Or a photograph of a mouse pad?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Take that down. And if you could take a look at Defendant's Exhibit 21 and 22, I'll refer you first to 21, which should be on the top. Is that the mouse pad and the bike fix-it kit that you collected?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay. And then Defendant's Exhibit 20, is that a college man's cookbook recovered from the apartment? And to be fair, that was not recovered by you, it was recovered by a colleague, Detective Mel and Detective Ingui. Do you
Correct.
recognize the evidence envelope?
I'm sorry, Ms. Spengler, did you say, I think you said 20, and I think you may have meant 21.
I actually meant 22. Thank you, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it is marked 22, and these are items that, I did not personally take these items, but they were collected by Chuck Mel, who is a detective with me.
Okay,
Yes.
and just to be clear, that is Defendant's Exhibit 22.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I want to talk to you about the medications that you found in the medication cabinet. Now, that was in Mr. Holmes' bathroom, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And if we could please see Prosecution 2658. And I want to now talk specifically about the larger bottle, the sertraline bottle. If we could see Prosecution Exhibit 4051, please. Now that sertraline bottle, we see a name on the top of the bottle, an L. Fenton, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you recognize L. Fenton to be the psychiatrist from CU?
Yes.
And then also, we see where that prescription got filled at the top of that King Soopers. And is that address 655 Peoria Street?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And then moving on to Prosecution Exhibit 4052, please. We see this medication that was also recovered from that medicine cabinet in Mr. Holmes' apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's the clonazepam.
Yes.
And also filled at the King Soopers on 655 Peoria.
Yes, it was.
And also prescribed by Dr. Fenton.
Yes.
Your Honor, may I please have a moment?
Yes.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any redirect, Mr. Orman?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
And the jury does not appear to have any questions. May this witness be released from her subpoena, from his subpoena, Mr. Orman?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, any objection? All right, sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Orman, you may call your next witness.
Actually, if we can publish, I don't want to publish everything to save some time. If we could publish just a few of these, Your Honor.
Okay,
And I would ask to publish 757, which is the box, 758, which are the gun cleaning rods, 780, which are the gun locks, and 790, which are the earphones.
all right, that request is granted.
In Your Honor, the defense would request to publish Prosecution Exhibit 770 and the exhibits attached to 770.
770?
That's correct.
All right, 770 will be included as well.
And if it please the court, I'll go grab those by the witness stand.
Please.
Thank you.
is.
Okay.
I got it.
The record should reflect that those exhibits were just published to the jury. Call your next witness, please.
Evan Ferris.
Good morning. Could I have you raise your right hand for me, please, so that I can understand the you solemnly swear or affirm on the penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, please be seated. Could you please tell us your full name and spell your first, middle, and last names?
Evan Lee Ferris, EvanLeeFarris.
Ms. Tish McGuire, you may proceed.
Thank you. Were you at the Century 16 movie theater in Aurora, Colorado on July 19th of 2012?
Yes, I was.
Did that go into the early morning hours of July 20th of 2012?
Yes.
Could you please tell the jury about how you remember getting your movie tickets that day?
We went earlier in the day to make sure we got tickets around 12 or 1 o'clock.
Did you return later that night to go see the movie?
Yes.
What do you recall doing when you got to the theater?
Getting in, waiting in line, finding our seats, and then Rochelle Hill got up to go get snacks.
Who's Rochelle Hill?
She's my fiance.
She went with you to the movie theater that night?
Yes.
Was anyone else with you at the movie theater that night?
No.
What do you recall doing while you were waiting for the movie to begin?
Playing on our phones.
What could you please tell the jury what happened in the movie theater that night?
About 15 minutes into the movie, sounded like a firework went off and just felt like something was wrong. So I got Rochelle down, and all of a sudden, just more fireworks. She kept hearing them, and we just stayed down. We could feel the chairs around us blowing up, it felt like, and just kept hearing shots.
Could you hear anything else in the theater?
Screaming. The movie was still playing. That's about it.
Could you describe for the jury how your body and Miss Hill's body was when you were on the ground?
Yeah, I pushed her to the ground and laid on top of her, and we were at the edge aisle, so my legs were hanging out, and I was laying on top of her.
Could you tell the jury where you were seated that night?
We were on the, if you're looking towards the screen, we were on the far right side, about 3 or 4 rows up from the stairs on the aisle.
Were you on the actual aisle seat?
Yes.
So when you were laying down, were your legs in the aisle where the stairway
Yes.
is? Okay. Tell the jury about what happened while you were lying on the ground.
You could just hear screaming, feel, like I said, feel the chairs just explode, and my legs were getting trampled on, and
Was that from other people who were running up the stairs?
yeah.
Well, could you tell the jury about what sort of gunshots you heard and what you remember from that night?
Just different varieties of fireworks, they sounded like.
They
I mean,
didn't
some
all...
sounded fast, some sounded slow, some sounded louder, some didn't.
Did you notice anything else when you were on the ground about the people who were seated next to you?
The lady next to us, next to Rochelle, she fell to the ground and started shaking, and don't know what happened to her. There was blood, and she just started shaking and seizing, I guess, I don't know.
When do you recall the gunshot stopping?
I don't.
You don't ever?
Mm-mm.
Could you tell the jury about how you got out of the theater that night?
It was about 2 minutes before we even decided to get up after it stopped firing for a few minutes and started making our way up towards the top of the theater. We were crawling over people and people were crawling over us. And when we got to the top of the theater, we started crossing. And as we started crossing, started firing again. So then we got down for another, I don't know, 30, 40 seconds until he stopped again. And then got up, went the rest of the distance to the top exit, and got out that way.
Did you ever take a moment to look back into the theater before you got out? What did you...
When we were first down there, when it first started, we looked, and then when we were at the very top, we looked again.
Could you tell the jury about what you saw?
Just flashes and a dark figure.
And where was that figure located in the theater?
If you're looking at the screen, bottom right, near the front exit.
Or if I may approach the witness with what's been marked as People's Exhibit 1124.
You may.
Mr. Ferris, do you recognize that document?
Yeah, this is the one I drew.
Does that fairly and accurately represent what you remember happening on July 20th of 2012?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I would move for the admission of People's Exhibit 1124.
Is there any objection, Ms. Spengler?
No objection.
Without objection, P-TR-1124 is admitted and may be published.
Thank you. May I please have 1124? All right, now Mr. Ferris, there's a mouse little thing up there. Is it working? May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. If you could try to manipulate that mouse so that you could show the jury where you and Miss Hill were seated that evening.
It's not working.
Oh, it stopped. All right. All right. I guess it's not going to work. All right. There is a cordless microphone next to you. And if I could ask you to use this stick, please, and turn that microphone on so that the jury can hear you. All right, if you could use that stick to show the jury where you and Miss Hill were seated that evening.
We were about the 4th or 5th row up right here on the edge.
All right, and could you show the jury where it was that you saw the flashes from the shooter?
About right here when it started.
All right, could you show them your exit path when you crawled out?
We went up the stairs, across the, probably not the the last aisle, but the second to last aisle, and out the upper exit.
Could you show the jury where it was that you stopped when you heard the gunfire start again?
Right, about right here.
All right, and can you also show the jury where it was that you noticed somebody else as you walked out of the theater?
Right here. We saw the girl right in front of us was shot in the butt right as we were exiting.
All right, can you tell the jury when you looked back up there where it was that you saw the shooter in the theater?
When we were up here and we looked back, he was a little closer to where we were sitting.
All right, thank you very much. You may take your seat. What happened when you got out of the theater?
We just kept running and didn't look back until we got out of the theater.
Did you sustain any injuries as a result of being in the theater that night?
Yes, I had a hairline fracture in my ankle and just scrapes.
Did anything happen to your tendon?
Oh, yeah, I tore a tendon.
Is that from when your legs were being trampled by the
Yes.
other moviegoers? I have no further questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right, any cross-examination?
No, thank you.
And the jury does not appear to have a question. May this witness be released from his subpoena, Mr. McGuire?
Please, Your Honor.
Is there any objection?
No objection.
All right, sir, thank you. Call your next witness, please.
Rochelle Hill, please.
Good morning. If I can have you raise your right hand, please, so that I can administer an oath. You solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Please be seated. Could you please tell us your full name and spell your first, middle, and last names?
My full name is Rochelle Ann Hill. That's RICHELLEANNHILL.
All right, Ms. Tish McGuire, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Ms. Hill, could I ask you to pull that microphone really, really close to you? Thank you. Were you at the Century 16 movie theater on July 19th of 2012 in Aurora, Colorado?
Yes.
Did that go into the early morning of July 20th, 2012?
Yes.
Please tell the jury a little bit about what you remember from the day of July 19th.
I remember my fiance, Evan, and I being very excited to go and see the new Batman movie.
What's Evan's last name?
Ferris.
When did you purchase your tickets that day?
My fiance, Evan Ferris, went in earlier that day around 6 p.m. to purchase our tickets.
What time did you get to the theater that night?
Around 10:30 p.m.
What'd you do when you got to the movie theater?
When we got to the movie theater, we gave them our tickets, of course, and then we had to wait in a line before they would let us into the theater itself.
What theater number did you go into that night?
Theater number 9.
Where did you find seats in the theater?
We found seats when we came in. It was about 3 or 4 rows up from the railing.
And if you're facing the movie theater screen, is that from the right side?
Yes, it's on the right side if you're looking at the screen.
Please tell the jury about what happened in the movie that night.
The movie started and we were sitting there enjoying the movie, and then all of a sudden I saw something be thrown in the opening from like the railing, and then the handicap seats are right there, and then the bended row seats that are like directly below the screen itself. In between those two areas, I saw something be thrown, and then like a flash of light. And then at that point, I saw a dark figure standing there, and as the flash went off, I felt this debris coming towards us. And at first, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just like fireworks or something. And somebody like playing a prank for a part of the movie until we heard the gunshots.
Tell the jury about what you heard that night.
I heard after the flash of lights or whatever it was and the debris coming toward our face, I heard a pumping sound like a click click or a chick chick sound.
And Ms. Hill, I'm going to ask you to stand up for a second and make that motion that you just made so the jury can see you. And you can stay in your seat, but just, I mean, where you stay up on the podium, but if you could stand up so the jury, if you could actually stand up so the jury can see you. Okay. And you saw that motion from the shooter. And if you could just take your seat. Thank you very much. And so that was at the beginning.
Yes.
Okay. And could you see that weapon?
I could see the outline of a weapon.
Was it a larger weapon?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What do you recall after that?
I recall once we heard the shots, there was a woman standing right next to me, and I heard her say, "I've been hit." And that's when my fiance, Evan Ferris, told me to get down on the ground, and I was frozen in shock. And so he pushed me down to the ground, and I hit my left elbow and the left side of my head. And as I went down, the woman next to me came down and was laying on top of my legs. And she was shaking like crazy, like just wouldn't stop shaking. And then, I'm sorry, when we were down on the ground, I like turned, because when I first went down to when Evan pushed me down to the ground, I was facing the other woman. And then after I felt her shaking and everything, that's when I turned and I was looking towards Evan, and he was laying on top of me.
So to be clear, at first, what direction was your head? Was it closer to the left aisle or the right aisle before you turned?
To the left.
And then when you turned, your head was closer to the right aisle.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you recall after that? Are you still hearing gunshots in the background?
Yes, ma'am.
What else are you hearing?
I'm hearing people screaming. I'm hearing the movie. Those are the only things I can hear.
What were you thinking at that point in time?
I was in shock. I had no idea what was going on.
What do you recall happening after that?
After I had been pushed onto the ground and we heard a break in the gunshots, my fiance Evan Ferris grabbed me and told me that we needed to go. And that's when we got up and I looked over at the woman that had been sitting right beside me, and she was just laying on the ground. Sorry. She was laying on the ground with blood all around her, and she was not moving. And that's when my fiance, Evan Ferris, grabbed my arm and told me that we needed to leave. And I grabbed my bag, which had been on the chair right beside us. I grabbed my bag and we proceeded to go up the staircase, crawling over all sorts of things, popcorn, sticky stuff, people. And we went up towards the back of the theater and crawled through. Once we got to the top of the stairs, we crawled through to the right to the exit door.
Did you see anything as you were going out that exit door?
Yes.
What did you see?
Lots of people were with us trying to exit the theater, and when we got to the exit door, there was a woman standing against the wall with a gunshot wound to her butt.
Your Honor, at this time I would ask the court's permission to have Ms. Hill approach the 3D model.
Yes.
Thank you. And there's a cordless microphone up there. You could grab that and turn that on. Come meet me here, please. All right. Ms. Hill, could you please show the jury where you and Mr. Ferris were seated that night?
We were seated in these rows right here, this row right here.
All right. And could you tell them what seats you were in?
The seats, Evan Ferris was seated in the seat closest to the stair, and I was one right next to him.
And could you show the jury where it was that you saw the flashes when that person was pumping the gun, as you described?
In this area right here.
And then could you talk to them about where it was that you crawled out?
We crawled up these stairs all the way up to the top to this aisle right here, along the back and down the stairs and out the door.
All right, thank you very much. You can take your seats.
Back up here.
Could you tell the jury if you noticed any distinct changes in the gunshots you heard in the theater that night?
Yes, I believe I did.
Please tell the jury what you recognized that night.
When I first heard the gunshots, it was a deep, hard gunshot, like thicker than a regular, smaller gun. And then throughout, as we were going up the stairs, I heard faster gunshots, more quickly. And then as I was exiting, I heard slower gunshots.
Estelle, did you sustain any injuries as a result of being in the theater that night?
Yes.
Please tell the jury about what those injuries were.
I hurt my left elbow, the left side of my head. I have a pinched nerve and 3 slip discs.
I have no further questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any cross-examination, Ms. Spangler?
No, thank you.
All right. And the jury does not appear to have any questions. May this witness be released from her subpoena?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
No objection.
All right, thank you. Ma'am, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, call your next witness, please.
Fabio Serafini.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. Could I have you raise your right hand for me so that I can administer an oath? Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please be seated. Please tell us your full name for the record and spell your first, middle, and last names.
Fabio Serafini, Fabio Serafini.
Mr. Edson, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, what do you do for a living?
I am the Senior Director of Customer Service at Fandango.
Are you also a record custodian for Fandango?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been with Fandango?
9 years.
What is Fandango?
Fandango is a website and app that sells movie tickets, provides showtimes, and original content.
I'm going to direct your attention to a movie that premiered roughly July 19th and July 20th of 2012 called The Dark Knight Rises. Was Fandango a part of a purchase option for consumers of that movie?
Yes.
I'm going to further direct your attention to the time period of July 7th, July 13th, and July 17th of 2012. Was Fandango an option for individuals to purchase tickets to that movie during those dates?
Yes.
Prior to testifying here today, have you had an opportunity to view some purchase transaction details associated with those 3 previously mentioned dates?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness, please?
You may.
I've handed you what's been previously marked as People's Exhibit 1084A, 1084B, and 1084C. Do you recognize all of those documents?
I do.
In general, what are all of those documents?
It's a record of the purchase transaction detail. It shows the movie time, theater location, the amount of tickets, the credit card, last 4 digits, anything that has to do with a transaction on Fandango.
Are these records computer generated?
Yes.
Are these records kept in the normal and ordinary course of Fandango's business?
Yes.
Are you personally familiar with these 3 exhibits and these particular records associated with Fandango?
Yes.
I'd like to draw your attention to the first exhibit, 1084A. What is the transaction date associated with that exhibit?
July 7th, 2012.
Is there a particular customer associated with that exhibit?
Yes.
Who is that?
James Holmes.
Is there an email address associated with that transaction?
There is.
What is that?
dsherlockb@hotmail.com.
I'd like to draw your attention to Exhibit 1084B. Is there a transaction date associated with that exhibit?
Yes.
What is that?
July 13th, 2012.
Is there a customer associated with that purchase transaction?
Yes.
Who is that?
James Holmes.
I'd like to draw your attention to Exhibit 1084C. What is that transaction date?
July 17th, 2012.
Is there an email address associated with that transaction?
Yes.
What is that?
dsherlockb@hotmail.com.
All three of these exhibits, 1084A, B, and C, do they all relate to the same do they all relate to the same movie?
They do.
What movie was that?
The Dark Knight Rises.
And what was the date and showtime of that movie?
It was July 19th, 2012.
And showtime?
12:01 a.m.
And is there a particular movie theater that's associated with all three of those purchases?
Yes.
And what is that theater?
Century Aurora 16 in Aurora, Colorado.
Are you familiar with how Fandango compiles computer-generated records?
Yes.
The computer entries that are associated with People's Exhibit 1084A, B, and C, are they all made within Fandango's regular course of business?
Yes, they are.
Those participating in the making of all three of these records, were they acting within Fandango's regular course of business?
Yes.
The input procedures associated with all three of these exhibits, are they accurate?
Yes.
These particular purchase, are they an in-person or an online purchase?
They're online.
The entries associated with People's Exhibits 1084A, B, and C, were they made within a reasonable time after the actual transaction?
Yes, they're made in real time.
What does that mean?
As soon as the customer clicks on complete my purchase, the record is automatically generated.
And is that record kept in Fandango's normal course of business?
Yes.
The information that's contained within People's Exhibit 1084A, B, and C, is it transmitted by an individual who has knowledge of that particular sale?
Yes.
Is that you?
Yes.
The information contained within these three exhibits, 1084A, B, and C, are they kept and maintained within the regular business practice of Fandango?
Yes.
Setting these three exhibits aside, are you familiar with other types of record keeping associated with Fandango similar to these?
Yes.
These particular exhibits that I have before you now, do you regularly receive, maintain, and rely on these type of records in your job with Fandango?
I do.
Judge, at this time I would move for admission of People's Exhibit 1084A, 1084B, 1084C, pursuant to People v. Hewen, Colorado Rules of Evidence 401, 402, as well as 901 and 8036.
And for the record, Hewen is H-U-E-H-N. Ms. Hicks, do you have any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, without objection, P-TR-1084A, 1084B, and 1084C are all admitted and may be published.
If I could please have the first page of People's Exhibit 1084A, that would be 10841, I believe. A couple of things, sir. Do you see this exhibit in front of you on the computer screen?
I do.
Okay, we're going to try and close up as best we can. First of all, top where it says Fandango, is that your company?
That is.
Purchase transaction detail, do you see where I'm referring to there?
I do.
Right below that, there's a purchase date. What is that date?
That is July 7th, 2012.
There's a time. What is that time?
7:58 and 32 seconds p.m.
Fandango, what state are you out of?
California.
Is that time local to the purchase time, or is that California time? Do you know?
It is, I believe, California time.
Okay. I don't need you to read it, but there's a long set of numbers and letters associated with an order number. My question, is that a unique number to that particular transaction?
Yes, it is.
A couple lines below that, there's a user IP address. Can you read what that is, please?
Sure. 67.166.38.7.
Moving down a bit further there, I see information that says theater name, city, state. What is that referring to?
That's the theater where it was purchased.
And
The
what is
tickets
that?
were purchased.
What was that theater?
It's Century Aurora 16, Aurora, Colorado.
What was the movie?
The Dark Knight Rises.
Now, the next two lines, the movie date and the movie time. We've heard some testimony already about this movie. I'd like you to explain, if you would please, the movie date and movie time.
Certainly. So even though the movie actually played on July 20th of 2012, in the interest of keeping things simple for our customers, because it's a midnight showing, we had seen in the past that people would show up the wrong day, the night before or the night after, so we keep it the late, and actually the confirmation email says late evening, Thursday evening, 7:19, so they know to show up that day, even though it's technically the next day.
Okay, so with the movie time being 12:01 a.m., is it fair to say that's actually 12:01 a.m. of July 20th?
Yes.
How much was this ticket purchased for?
$7.75.
And who was the customer name?
James Holmes.
Tell us about the payment information, please.
It was paid for by a credit card. We see the last four digits there.
What are those last four digits?
2217.
Okay, we can take that down, please. Thank you. Before we move into the next one, a couple of
Yep.
questions. You have still before you People's Exhibit 1084A. Do you see the second page there?
Yes.
What is that second page in general?
It is a copy of the confirmation email that a customer receives once they purchase a ticket on Fandango.
Does it state what auditorium that particular movie and movie time is playing at?
It does.
And what is that auditorium?
Auditorium 8.
Does Fandango have anything to do with people where they ultimately, what theaters they end up in a large movie complex like that?
No, that's decided by the theater.
And continuing with People's Exhibit 1084A, just looking through that particular exhibit, did that transaction go through and ultimately proceeded to the customer?
Yes.
I'd like to draw your attention to People's Exhibit 1084B. Do you have that in front of you?
I do.
If I could please have the first page of that published. It'd be 10847, I think. Do you see that in front of you, sir?
Yes.
What is the purchase date of this transaction
July 13th, 2012,
and the time?
8:47 and 59 seconds p.m.
That order number, is that a different order number than the first purchase transaction of July 7th?
Yes, it is.
So is this in fact a second transaction?
It is.
Is it the same user IP address as contained in the first exhibit?
Yes, it is.
Moving down, is it the same movie and same movie time as you just previously testified to?
It is.
Same total amount?
Correct.
Same customer name?
Yes.
Same payment information?
Yes.
And just we can take that down, thank you. Your overall review of People's Exhibit 1084B, does it appear that this transaction was successful as far as charging the credit card and such?
Correct.
So in other words, is this a second ticket purchase for that same movie?
Yes.
The first page of People's Exhibit 1084C, please. I think that's 1084-13. Do you see that in front of you?
I do.
Is this a third transaction detail?
Yes, it is.
The order number, is that also a third unique order number?
Yes.
What was the purchase of this particular transaction?
The date was July 17th, 2012.
And the time?
7:06 and 11 seconds p.m.
Is it the same user IP address as the two previous purchases?
Yes, it is.
Same movie, same theater?
Yes.
Same movie date and time as you just described?
Correct.
and customer name has something different. Can you describe what we're looking at there, please?
Sure. In this case, it looks like the purchaser used a PayPal account, and in those cases, we don't require a customer to enter in their first and last name, just their email address, and then their PayPal account number.
Fair to say the first two were done by credit card.
Yes,
This one is PayPal.
correct.
How is that different as far as purchasing through Fandango?
It's just a different form of payment. Either you can use your own credit card where you enter in your actual credit card number and expiration date, or you can use a PayPal account, in which case you just enter in that account and then the funds are taken from that account.
And does that appear as to what happened in this third transaction?
Yes.
What is the email associated with that third transaction?
dsherlockb@hotmail.com.
Based upon your review of People's Exhibit 1084C, does it appear that this was also a third successful transaction?
Yes.
So in other words, based on the totality of People's Exhibit 1084 and the three different parts to it, are those three separate transactions?
They are.
You can take that down for me, please. Are you familiar with sort of the end usage of a Fandango purchase? In other words, if someone purchases a Fandango ticket online and then they go to the theater, how that actually corresponds with getting into a movie?
Yeah, sure.
My basic question here is, just like these three purchases that were all done online, walk us through how someone could then gain entry to the theater, knowing that you're a different entity than the actual theater itself.
Sure, and so it's different for every theater. They all have different redemption methods.
I'd object as far as speculation. He doesn't have any, and lack of foundation.
Sustain as a lack of foundation under Rule 602. You can attempt to establish more foundation.
Sure. Let me ask you a couple of,
Sure.
of other questions. Tell me again, what's your job title with Fandango?
I'm the Senior Director of Customer Service.
As part of your job related to customer service, do you have knowledge as to the procedure when somebody purchases a ticket from Fandango online and then they go to a movie theater and ultimately to retain that theater ticket?
I do.
Do you also have knowledge as to how an individual can go with, say, an iPhone to Fandango, or with Fandango, going to a movie theater and ultimately gaining access to the movie itself?
I do.
How do you have that knowledge?
I write the training manuals for the customer service representatives that have to walk customers through the procedures.
And did those training manuals that you actually authored, do they contain the information that is associated with gaining access to a movie theater after you purchased a ticket through Fandango?
In great detail, yes.
Judge, I'd request that I continue in this line of questioning with a sufficient foundation laid.
Me?
So again, I'm going to backtrack.
Sure.
Similar to these three transactions here, walk me through how an individual would gain access to a movie after they purchase tickets through Fandango.
Sure. Once the purchase is complete, the customer receives a confirmation email with a couple of different options on how to redeem their ticket. In most cases, they can either print the ticket at home and take it right to the ticket taker at the theater. They can either then also bring their confirmation number or credit card and go to the kiosk that's usually located right outside or just inside a theater, enter in their confirmation number, or swipe their credit card and the tickets print, or they can take their iPhone, open up the app, take it right to the ticket taker who has a scanner, scans the barcode, and they walk right into the theater.
If a ticket taker does not have the scanner that you're just referring to, would it necessitate an individual to actually go through that kiosk that you described to get a paper ticket and then go back through?
Yes.
All right. Judge, can I have one moment, please?
You may.
No further questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any cross-examination, Ms. Higgs?
No, thank you, Your Honor, and I don't have any objection to this witness being released.
All right. The jury may have some questions for you, sir, so give us a moment, please. Thank you. Would council please approach the bench? All right, sir, the jury has submitted some questions that, based on the rules of evidence and other applicable rules of law, I have determined are appropriate. The first question is, if the movie is to show in more than one theater at approximately the same time, are all the tickets through Fandango sold for the same theater or not?
Could you repeat the question? I'm not quite sure what that means.
The question is, if the movie is to show in more than one theater at approximately the same time, are all of the tickets through Fandango sold for the same theater or not?
So if it's supposed to show in different screens at the same theater, is that what it's asking? Yes, sure. We sell for, especially for big openings like a movie like Dark Knight Rises, there probably would have been multiple screens where you could have purchased tickets through Fandango for that theater.
The next question is, were all the tickets sold on Fandango for this movie premiere for this date all sold for Theater 8, if you know?
I don't know.
The next question is, could a person have specified the 12:05 a.m. show when they purchased their tickets through Fandango, since the show was to play in more than one theater that night?
Yes, the customer can pick what showtime they want to attend.
All right, and the next question is, what theater numbers were given on the second and third purchases?
Let me look that up. The second purchase was Auditorium 8, as was the third purchase.
All right, follow-up questions, Mr. Edson?
Yes, Judge, very briefly. Sir, as to that last question, for all three of the ticket purchases, were all three of them for the same showtime?
Yes,
What was that showtime?
12:01 a.m.
So were they all for the same auditorium as well?
Yes.
No further questions, thank you.
Any follow-up questions? Ms. Higgs?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, Mr. Edson, may this witness be released from his subpoena?
Yes, sir, thank you.
All right, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, members of the jury, it's time for lunch, so we're going to go ahead and take our lunch break. We'll take the usual hour and a half. Please make sure that you adhere to all of my advisements during the break, and I'll see you back here in an hour and a half. Thank you. Please be seated, everyone. The record should reflect that the jury has left the courtroom. We have a note from one of the jurors that she needs to leave right at 5, if not a little earlier today. So we'll plan on quitting a little bit before 5 to give me time to give them the advisements today in full, okay? Is there anything we need to talk about at this time on behalf of the people?
Your Honor, we did modify the model last night. If I could use that same procedure I took last time to take some photographs of it and submit them as court exhibits.
Please. And for the record, the modification that you made was pursuant to my order yesterday at the end of the day. Is that correct?
Right, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. King?
I just want to confirm that that exhibit, the other exhibit was marked as court.
Ms. Gerlings, have you had a chance to mark that photograph?
Yeah,
It's Core Exhibit 32, C-DR-32. Well, on the topic of confirming, were you able to confirm yesterday on the USBs? You said that you were pretty sure they were being destroyed, but were you able to confirm that all of the copies of the questionnaire, including electronic copies, were all destroyed?
Yes, it's been done.
Great, thank you. All right, anything else on behalf of the people? No? Anything else on behalf of the defense? No? Okay, thank you. I'll see you after lunch. The court will be in recess.